Shalom. Our Torah portion this week is Tol'dot. I'd like to draw your attention to a passage in chapter 27 in the book of Genesis. Let's take a look at it. Kishma Esav et divrei aviv, vayitzak tza'aka gedola umara ad me'od, vayomer la'aviv, barcheni gam ani avi, vayomer ba achicha umirma v'yikach birchatecha. When Esau heard his father's words, he broke into an exceedingly loud and bitter howl and said to his father, "Bless me too, father." But he said, "Your brother came with deceit and took away your blessing." If there ever was a novella, a story worthy of its own soap opera on television, it is Parshat Tol'dot. It's a story of family intrigue, betrayals, and a clash of values and points of view. Earlier in the Torah, we see that Rebekah had given birth to twin boys, the older of whom was Esau, who was a physically powerful man, but a man with very basic, almost animalistic appetites. And Jacob, who was born only moments after Esau, actually holding on to Esau's heel as he came into the world, was a more studious man, a man who was nowhere near as physically powerful as his brother. And as they matured, Rebekah favored Jacob. She saw in Jacob, even though he was a flawed personality in many ways, she saw in him the basic, fundamental values and characteristics that would make him a great leader. She also saw tendencies in her other son, Esau, that disturbed her. Esau, again, was a man who of little self-restraint, a man who was very impatient, a man, though, who could present himself in a very charming way. He could be duplicitous, and certainly that was the way he interacted with his father Isaac. He always presented himself as this mature, this reasonable man before his father, and then out in the field was up to all sorts of mischief. We see that Rebekah encourages her son Jacob to steal the birthright that was supposed to come to Esau. And we see that Esau stumbles in from the field one day. He's hungry, and he sees Jacob cooking up some stew, and Esau sells his birthright for a bowl of stew. And later on, in the passage that I just read, we see that Rebekah has Jacob dress up and to look like or to appear like his brother Esau, and to fool Isaac, their father, who's blind at this time, into giving a blessing that he had intended to give to Esau. So twice we see Esau cheated by his younger brother. Now we can understand why Esau and perhaps even Isaac were angry, very angry at Jacob taking the birthright, because the birthright had implications regarding inheritance. The birthright meant that the child who had the birthright received a greater amount of inheritance, and also all sorts of privileges that were coming to the leader of the people. But the blessing, why isn't Isaac angry about the blessing? And we see that Esau is angry about not receiving the blessing, but Isaac isn't so angry about it. Well, we have to think about this, and the way I see it is that the blessing was of more consequence in a certain way for Esau, even of more consequence than the birthright. The blessing didn't just come from the father. It came, Isaac, it came from God. And it was contingent, as all blessings are, on how the receiver of the blessing acts, what that person does. We know that Esau would have squandered it in one way or another, and we see that when Jacob has to leave the land of Canaan and dwell with his uncle Laban outside the country for a while, we see that his life was anything but blessed. His life only becomes blessed when he becomes a father and a husband and a man in his own right, a steady man, a man of values, a man of principles. It is then that the blessings kick in and he indeed becomes a blessed person. This teaches us that blessings are not absolute. We're blessed with all sorts of things, but blessings only materialize when we apply them with the proper values. Now, as far as the question of why didn't Isaac get angry about being fooled, about the blessing. He was angry about being fooled with regard to the birthright, but why was he not so angry about having given the wrong son the blessing? He even says, you know, he's blessed. There's nothing I can do about it. He almost reinforces the fact that he has blessed Jacob. Well, it can be explained in this way. Isaac was a fairly naive man. He grew up in a very honest home. His father was Abraham, his mother was Sarah. He couldn't see through the double dealing, so to speak, of his son Esau. Rebecca, on the other hand, grew up in a much more deceitful home, which actually worked to her advantage. She knew about Laban, her brother. She knew what a schemer he was, and she could see the same qualities in her son Esau. And so in a way, she taught her husband a lesson, that he could be easily fooled. And we can conclude that there had been lots of arguments in that family, and the final change came when Isaac realized how easily he could be fooled. He then came to realize that his wife's judgment, at least in this type of situation, was superior to his own. Well, as I said, it's quite a soap opera. I hope that you will read this week's Torah portion and come to your own conclusions. Shabbat Shalom.